Let's be real for a moment. There's a conversation that most people avoid, but it deserves to be spoken with honesty. It's about one of the oldest myths in intimacy, the belief that bigger always means better. Now, if you've lived long enough, you already know life isn't that simple. We've all seen things that looked impressive on the outside, but turned out to be disappointing when it came to depth, care, or substance. Intimacy is no different. Some men carry the weight of thinking their size is the ultimate measure of satisfaction. Some women carry the silent worry that they'll be judged if they admit discomfort. And so the myth lives on. But here's the truth. Biology, psychology, and emotion all tell us a different story. A woman's body is intelligent. On average, her natural depth is about 3 to 4 inches when she's not aroused. And yes, it expands, but only so much. That means when things go far beyond that range, the body doesn't just accept it. The nervous system reacts. Muscles tighten, breath shortens, and the body instinctively tries to protect itself. That's not rejection of a man, that's a protective reflex. Think of it this way. Her body is like a finely tuned instrument. You don't play a violin with brute force, you play it with care, with rhythm, with sensitivity. The same is true here. It's not about overpowering, it's about connecting. And let's be honest, the media hasn't helped. Movies and cultural myths have sold us the idea that women universally desire more. But surveys tell a different story. Many women actually feel safest and most satisfied with average. Why? Because safety creates desire. Comfort opens the door to pleasure. So before we even get into the details, let's pause here. Bigger isn't automatically better. The real question, the one most men never ask, is this: am I creating safety, trust, and connection? Because that, more than anything, is where true intimacy begins.
Here's something most men never stop to think about. A woman's body wasn't designed at random. It has millions of years of wisdom built into it, and that wisdom has one core mission: survival. From an evolutionary standpoint, the female body's first responsibility is to protect her ability to safely carry and bring life into the world. That means her body is wired with boundaries. If something feels painful, overwhelming, or threatening, her nervous system doesn't just ignore it, it sends a clear signal: slow down, stop, protect. Think about it. If intimacy consistently caused injury or deep discomfort, it would lower her chances of successful reproduction. Nature doesn't favor that. So over time, women's bodies developed natural defense mechanisms. Muscles tighten, lubrication decreases. She may even feel her mind pulling back before anything has really begun. That's not her rejecting you as a man. It's biology doing its job. I've heard men take this personally. They think, she doesn't want me, she's pushing me away. But the truth is, her body is protecting her long before her conscious mind has even time to form a thought. That's survival instinct at work. And once you understand that, it changes everything. Now here's the deeper point. When a man understands this, when he honors it instead of fighting against it, trust begins to grow. Her body learns that it's safe with him, that he's not going to push past her limits. And over time, safety turns into desire. Protection turns into openness. So the next time you find yourself frustrated or confused, ask yourself this: Am I interpreting her body's defense as rejection, or am I wise enough to see it for what it is, an ancient protective mechanism built for survival? Because once you see it through that lens, you realize it's not about winning against her defenses. It's about becoming the kind of man her body and her heart both feel safe to open up to.
If there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's this. The biggest problems in intimacy don't usually come from the body. They come from silence. Think about it. How many couples spend years together, yet never once have an honest conversation about what truly feels good, what feels uncomfortable, or what feels like too much? Instead, they guess. They hope their partner can read their mind. And in that silence, frustration quietly grows. When a woman doesn't feel safe enough to say, "That's too deep," or "I need more time," her body will end up saying it for her, through tension, dryness, or pulling away. And when a man isn't willing to ask, "How does this feel for you?" he misses the chance to build trust that could transform the whole experience. Here's the truth. Open communication is not unromantic. It's not clinical. It's actually one of the most powerful forms of intimacy. Because when two people can be honest about their limits and their desires, anxiety disappears, safety grows, and with safety comes the freedom to explore more, not less. But here's the challenge. So many of us grew up with false stories from the media, movies, magazines, and especially adult entertainment, taught us that women should always want more intensity, more size, more performance. And if she doesn't, then something must be wrong with her. That's not reality. That's marketing. In reality, study after study shows that many women prefer comfort, patience, and connection over anything extreme. Why? Because when they feel relaxed and understood, they can actually let go and enjoy themselves fully. That's the piece the media never tells you, that safety and trust are the real keys to satisfaction. So maybe the real question isn't, am I enough? But rather, am I listening enough? Because the moment you create space for her voice, you'll be surprised at how quickly walls come down and intimacy deepens.
Let's talk about one of the biggest illusions that has shaped how men and women think about intimacy: the story told by the media. For decades, movies, magazines, and especially adult entertainment have sold us the same message, that women are universally drawn to size, that the bigger a man is, the more desirable, the more exciting, the more satisfying he must be. And if you're not in that category, well, you're made to feel like you're missing something. But here's the truth. That narrative was never about women's real experiences. It was about selling fantasy. It was about creating an image that keeps people hooked, even if it has very little to do with reality. When researchers actually ask women, in private, anonymous surveys where they can answer honestly, the picture looks very different. A large number of women admit they prefer average or even slightly smaller than average partners. Why? Because that's where they feel comfortable. That's where they feel safe enough to relax, to let go, to actually enjoy intimacy without worrying about pain or soreness the next day. Think about it. If intimacy leaves someone feeling bruised, stretched, or anxious, that's not passion, that's pressure. And pressure kills desire faster than anything.
What most women truly want is not an overwhelming experience, but a connected one. They want to feel cared for, listened to, and met with patience. In that space of comfort, real desire grows. Because in the end, safety equals attraction. So here's the question for us as men. Are we chasing an image that the media sold us? Or are we wise enough to listen to the women in our lives, to understand what actually makes them feel fulfilled? When you let go of the myth, you begin to see the deeper truth. Intimacy has never been about size. It's always been about presence, trust, and connection.
Here's a truth that too many men learn late in life. Size doesn't guarantee satisfaction. In fact, some of the most meaningful moments in intimacy have nothing to do with what you were born with, and everything to do with how you show up. Think of intimacy as a dance. If you've ever watched two great dancers, it's not about one person overpowering the other. It's about rhythm, timing, sensitivity. One leads, the other responds, and together they create something beautiful. Now imagine a dancer who only knows one move, who charges ahead without listening. It doesn't matter how strong or fast he is, the whole performance falls apart. The same is true in the bedroom. This is why foreplay isn't optional. It's the foundation. It's like tuning an instrument before the music begins. When you take the time to warm her body, to ease her mind, to build anticipation, you're not just preparing her. You're also showing her that she matters, that her comfort and her pace matter. That kind of attention builds trust, and trust is what unlocks deeper pleasure. Here's the part most men overlook. Women remember how you make them feel far more than what you try to prove. A man who is patient, who listens to her breathing, who notices when her body relaxes or tenses, that man will always be ahead of the one who rushes in trying to perform. Because intimacy is not a performance, it's a connection. So ask yourself, am I treating this like a conquest, or am I treating it like a dance? Am I rushing toward an ending, or am I willing to enjoy the entire song? When you shift your focus from size to skill, from ego to presence, you stop chasing myths and you start creating the kind of experiences that both of you will actually remember.
Most men never stop to think about the simple biology of a woman's body. We assume it can adapt to anything at any time. But the truth is, the female body has limits, and those limits are there for a reason. On average, a woman's vaginal canal is about 3 to 4 inches deep when she's not aroused. With arousal, the body expands, yes, but only to a point, usually 5 to 7 inches at most. Beyond that range, something important happens. Her body shifts from openness to protection. It's not about her rejecting you. It's about her nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do: protect her from harm. The body interprets excess pressure or overstretching as a threat. Muscles tighten, lubrication decreases, her breathing changes. Sometimes the mind is saying, "I want this," but the body is sending a different message. Slow down. Something doesn't feel safe. Think of it like this. The body is like a guard standing at the gate. If it senses danger, it doesn't argue or debate. It simply locks the door. And that response is automatic, beyond conscious control. This is where many men get it wrong. They think tension or dryness means she isn't interested, when in reality, it may just mean her body has reached its natural threshold. And if we push past that, we're not creating pleasure, we're creating pain. Here's the deeper truth. When you respect those limits, you actually create more space for intimacy. Because once a woman feels that her body is safe with you, that you won't ignore her signals, the guard at the gate relaxes. Muscles soften, desire builds, and the experience transforms. So instead of asking, "Why isn't she opening up?" the wiser question is, "What is her body trying to tell me right now?" When you learn to listen at that level, you stop fighting against her biology, and you start working with it. And that's when true connection begins.
Let's step away from biology for a moment and talk about the mind. Because intimacy doesn't just live in the body, it lives in memory, in emotion, in experience. For many women, their response to intimacy is shaped by what came before. If she's had painful experiences in the past, even years ago, her body remembers. The nervous system stores those moments like little warning lights. So when she's with a partner now, even if she feels safe emotionally, her body may still tighten, her breath may still shorten, almost as if it's whispering, "Careful, this could hurt again." And then there's the reality of time. For women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, hormonal changes naturally shift how the body responds. Estrogen levels drop. Vaginal tissues can become thinner, less elastic, more sensitive. Lubrication doesn't flow as easily as it once did. What used to feel perfectly comfortable in her 20s may now feel sharp, overwhelming, or even painful. This is where so many couples hit a wall, because instead of seeing these changes as normal, men sometimes take them personally. They think, "She doesn't want me anymore." But that couldn't be further from the truth. Most of the time, she still wants closeness. She still wants connection. What's changed isn't her desire for you, it's her body's capacity. The question is, how do we respond to that? Do we ignore it and push forward, leaving her anxious and guarded? Or do we adapt, slow down, and show her that we understand? Because when a woman feels her partner notices, cares, and adjusts without judgment, her anxiety fades. Her body begins to trust again. And trust, once rebuilt, opens doors that biology alone can't. So ask yourself this: am I giving her reasons to brace for pain, or reasons to believe she's safe with me? The answer to that question will shape not just your nights, but your entire relationship. So, let's bring this all together. A woman's body doesn't close up because it's afraid of size. It closes because it's protecting her. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. It's the body's natural way of saying, "Slow down, honor my limits, and meet me with care." And here's the truth most men need to hear. Pleasure isn't determined by size. Satisfaction isn't guaranteed by what you were born with. What really creates fulfillment is safety, trust, and emotional connection. When a woman feels safe in your presence, when she knows you're listening to her signals instead of pushing past them, her body opens, desire flows, intimacy becomes something both of you actually look forward to, not something she braces herself against. Think of it this way. Real intimacy is built on 4 pillars: sensitivity, skill, communication, and presence.
Sensitivity is noticing the little shifts in her body. Skill is knowing how to pace yourself, how to use foreplay, how to build tension the right way. Communication is creating space for honesty without judgment or shame. And presence is everything. It's you being fully there, not distracted, not trying to prove anything, but simply tuned in to her. That combination is what makes intimacy memorable. That's what turns a moment into a connection, and a connection into a bond. So if you take nothing else from this conversation, take this. Size doesn't define you. Your presence does. The way you care, the way you listen, the way you adapt, that's what she'll remember years from now. And if this perspective gave you something to think about, I invite you to stick around, subscribe, join the community, and let's keep having these real conversations. Because intimacy isn't about myths, it's about truth. And the more truth we uncover, the stronger, safer, and more satisfying our relationships become.